Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Bimbo Mentality, an educational podcast for silly girls, where we sit down with an expert and see if they can think like a and see if they can think like a bimbo well enough to teach us all about the neat things that they do. My name is Bug. I'm joined, as ever, by my beautiful co-host, Emma. Emma, how are you doing today?
Doing really well. I have a lot of really near and dear people in town right now, so having a good time.
Shout out to friends and stuff. Over in the booth, it's our producer, Rue, doing producer stuff. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I had a chance meeting with one of the creators of Doom today, which is kind of a big deal for a girl like me. So
I heard there was a chainsaw involved.
I got a signed poster, which is the thing that I can post on the internet, but the picture of me holding the Doom chainsaw, the one that is signed by John Romero and John Carmack and Tom Hall, who I met, that's one that I can only privately message to friends because, again, work uniform. But yeah, I got to hold that chainsaw and wield it threateningly at Tom Hall. That's some of the coolest shit that's ever happened.
That rules. Also joining us on the podcast today is our guest, Charles Starr. Charles is a litigator with almost 30 years of working experience and a few legal podcasts people mostly liked. He's written about legal issues for Slate, Vice, and a number of digital outlets that were killed by the funders. These days, he's posting on Blue Sky and working as a plaintiff-side consumer class action lawyer. Welcome to the podcast, Charles. Happy to have you.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Happy to be here.
I'm excited for this one because it feels like a crossover. This is you're bringing in a totally different audience than I assume.
I don't know.
Used to have.
I don't know. I'm in the Discords for batting around and kill the computer. So, I mean, it's different, but like there's a lot of overlap.
I'm sure, but I do think like our cis listenership is going to hit like double digits after this episode. So this is exciting. We're going to learn about lawyer stuff. Tell us, I guess, tell us a little bit about what you do in the field these days.
Well, right now I work at a firm that does plaintiff-side consumer class action, and that is, malfunctioning devices or, like Vioxx or, drugs that have bad side effects that weren't properly disclosed or antitrust because of pricing or whatever. But, it's where everyone lost a little. And so it's not worth it for any one particular person to sue necessarily. And so a law firm will represent a class of plaintiffs to bring the actions. And, there is the pro plaintiff side, which says if plaintiffs counsel doesn't bring these class actions and hold the corporations to account, then literally no one can. And then, just for the sake of fairness, the anti-class action side, the one that when people are yelling about tort reform, what they're always yelling about is they basically see it as kind of ransom taking, where if you can get your case past a motion to dismiss, then it's very expensive to litigate, and so they'd rather settle and get it out of the way, and the lawyers get a lot of the money, and the class plaintiffs don't really get very much, though the truth is they weren't usually owed very much. Like a lot of data breach cases, each person will get like a very nominal amount and then another year of Experian, which you already have. For the rest of your natural life, you have credit monitoring because of all of the data breaches already. So, there are varying opinions on it, but I kind of like being on the side that is suing corporations for bad or cheap or otherwise malicious acts.
we here on Bimbo Mentality are always in favor of suing corporations, really,
Yeah,
for
I
any
figured.
reason.
I
So,
didn't figure I'd get a lot of pushback.
it is, yeah, no, I mean, I feel like I've definitely seen these before where it's like, I'll get an email saying, if you bought this brand of conditioner at any point in the last, 6 months, you could sign on to this lawsuit and you could end up getting like $15 in the mail.
Yeah.
I sort of just assumed they were phishing scams.
Yeah, no, I mean they're mostly true. There's a jury duty like aspect of signing on to be a class plaintiff, because you have to settle for it really to benefit very much as a class plaintiff, and mostly what you will end up getting is a few $1,000s for the extra time you had to put in to give a deposition, whatever. But in a lot of these cases, they've shifted it away from that kind of individual plaintiff. Certainly with securities class actions, now what you try to do is sign up like a big union pension fund, because then they'll have like enough shares in whatever company you're suing for stock fraud or price manipulation or what have you, because it matters that you own. It used to be that if you just owned one share, you could kind of try to run the litigation, but that doesn't really fly anymore. And so pension funds are going to be the large shareholders who want to be kind of repeat players suing on behalf of securities classes.
All right, I'm gonna sort of throw my hat in the ring on the bimbo mentality here and admit that I don't entirely know what a pension fund is.
Well, I mean, a pension fund is if like in the olden days, people used to have jobs.
And like horses and shit.
Yeah, but specifically people would have jobs and they would be a member of a union, if you remember unions, and the unions would get, as part of the benefits, pensions for their membership. And that would mean that when you retire, right, you get the money from the pension when you retire. But the employer is paying into the pension fund the whole time. It's sort of like a part of your salary that you don't get until you retire, kind of like Social Security is the closest way to approximate it. But all the time that it is in there, the pension fund has to invest it in something. They don't just shove it in a coffee can. And so the pension fund is a big investment fund. And the idea is that as they are putting money into the pension fund, it is being invested so that the money grows so that people can get paid out when they retire. And it's not like a Ponzi scheme where the people working now are paying for the people who worked 30 years ago. Right?
Isn't like, I know, like, I read somewhere that, like, pensions used to be more dominant and then, like, the rise of 401ks kind of happened. But, like, do they feel similar in, like, purposes?
They are
I know
similar.
This is off topic, but
they are. No, it's not off topic. It's off topic to the legal expertise, but it's all sort of relevant within stuff that I've worked in. I mean, it is true that 401ks took a lot out of pensions. But the difference between 401k and a pension is a 401k is self-funded. Certainly some companies match what you put into your 401k, but you are basically choosing where the money goes in the 401k, right? If you put your 401k into individual stocks, you're doing it one way. If you buy mutual funds or an index fund through Vanguard or something like that, you're doing it another way, but it's the same kind of thing, where the 401k money you receive gets invested in some way, but you have a role in how it gets invested. And it has tax advantages the same way putting money into a pension fund that defers it has tax advantages.
I've already learned a fun fact today, so this is great.
Yeah, right. I feel like this has been very, very helpful and very educational already. I feel like I'm getting like financial help from my dad. It's great.
Well, that is the role I play online. I am the universal dad because I tend to hang out with everyone younger than me. But to answer a question that is now bouncing around, it's I don't know, it's probably some dumb AI investment thing, but some guy is like, what does the K stand for? But it doesn't stand for anything. It's just section 401, paragraph K of some, enabling regulation or statute that sets up the legal basis to do these funds.
That's like the most 2026 on the internet question for somebody to be investigating. I feel like I would never even think to ask that.
Right.
Were they like making a conspiracy out of it? Like,
no, it's just like a throwaway question by a guy who's confused. The character in the commercial is just confused by all the options that he faces. And so he's like, what does the K stand for? It's like, it's the equivalent of Great Googly Moogly in a Snickers commercial. So I used to do a little securities law, but when I was doing securities law, I was actually on the defense side mostly, where I was working, for white collar criminal defense or a big corporate firm or something like that. And then I got laid off during the pandemic and ended up doing plaintiff side work instead when I had to find a job. And it turns out that I probably should have started doing that 20 years ago. I'd have been much more generally happier, I think.
Sometimes those pandemic layoffs were helpful.
Yeah.
Sometimes they went well. I had the opposite situation happen where I ended up falling upwards into a management level position because everybody else in my department quit. That was my pandemic story.
That's not a bad way to go,
Yeah, as far as things go.
I enjoyed every second I was unemployed. And then my wife was like, come on, man. I was like, okay, fine.
Bimbo Mentality is a pro-unemployment podcast. I think we've brought that up before, but I was out of spent 2 weeks off between jobs a little bit ago, and I'm already missing it. Unemployment rules.
It's the best.
It's been a while for me, and I really miss it a lot.
It's like my son will never listen to anything I do, so I can say freely that being unemployed fucking rules.
Oh yeah, when I was out for
universal consensus on this podcast.
When I was out for Bob's for 3 months, it was honestly like the greatest. Like everyone's like, "Oh, you're gonna get bored," and I was like, I didn't get bored at all. I played a lot of Baldur's Gate and posted a lot on the internet, and played some SSX Tricky. It was fantastic. I don't know what people were saying, honestly. It was great.
Yeah, it's a good life. It's a good life. I mean, you got to be in a good position to enjoy being unemployed. And I was employed for long enough that I could float being unemployed for a while and kind of love it. But if you can, I highly recommend it. That's why I say play the lottery.
It's the same thing with the bullshit. I keep waiting for. I want to skip to a point where apparently AI is going to put us all out of a job, and then we just get to make art and music, and do that. I'm like, okay, cool. That sounds awesome. I'm down for that. Can we just skip the whole social upheaval and oppress part and let us all go pursue creative interests?
If I'm understanding the goals with AI correctly, it's really only the fun things that they're trying to take away.
That's what it seems like.
Well, they're trying to replace anything that they have to pay anyone to do.
Yeah.
Basically. I mean, my bit on it was I never really felt threatened by AI until someone said it didn't work. And that sounds a lot like me.
My thing about AI is that the thing that it seems to be the best at is skimming an email and not really understanding what the email actually said, which I'm great at. I'm so good at that. It's taking my job.
Yeah, pretending you understand something you read on the internet when you actually don't. Yeah, I'm very, I'm going to be out of a job. half of what I do on this podcast.
Fuck.
So what has been on your mind in the legal world that you're seeing that doesn't make a ton of sense?
Well, I was actually gonna bring up, and it actually does kind of tie back to AI as well, and it ties back to what you do with the consumer class action lawsuits, and I also get to sort of get up on my high horse about being kind of a Luddite, but it sure seems like a lot of products suck right now. A lot of services suck right now. And, you know, in your experience as somebody who sort of manages these lawsuits, where people sort of get together and say, hey, this product sucked. Does that ring true in your professional experience? Are there kind of more of these lawsuits or more products that are...
Not really, because it's not about things being bad usually. It's either they injure someone, like I spent a lot of time working on a litigation against CPAP, which settled and they didn't technically admit liability. But the allegation was that the CPAP phone, everyone know what a CPAP is, or is it just an old man thing? The CPAP is like the thing that looks like Bane on your face to help you breathe at night for sleep apnea.
It's a great way to describe that.
Yeah. And so the company Philips made one. It's not even in production anymore. It's an old model that used a specific kind of sound dampening foam on the inside that would deteriorate from heat and humidity. And then it would get into the motors and then get blown through the air system into your lungs, even though it was supposed to be sort of a closed system. And there was a dispute. There was no dispute, really, that all of that happened. But there was a dispute over whether it actually caused cancer or other breathing disorders. So there was litigation over it, and, that's the kind of thing that we would sue over, right? Not a thing being bad, that it either injures someone or there was an antitrust price fixing or that kind of thing. Just being generally disappointed by a product is life. Or if it's got to be defective in some way. And AI is the sort of thing where they caveat everything so much that it's hard to say it's even defective because they ultimately don't really promise that anything will work. There are situations where that's not true. I mean, Google just lost in Germany in either a German court or an EU court, but I know that it took place in Germany. They lost a case over their AI summaries, their pre-search summaries. They tried to claim that they were just search results, and the German court said, well, you use your own AI product to scrape the internet and generate these search results. It's your model. It's your output. You're stating it like it's true. You have to live with its mistakes, right? Because there is a kind of immunity for just link outs, because you can click on the link and read the link and judge the link, and Google didn't write that. But when Google puts together an AI summary, even though no human at Google had anything to do with it, Google as a corporation, this court said, is responsible for it. Because basically what happened is someone asked a question about whether a certain person was corrupt or, had been in trouble or something like that. And Google's AI conflated two people. And so part of the summary was about that guy, and part of the summary was about a guy who was, in fact, guilty of something. And it just said, yes, the person you asked about has been found guilty of that. And so he sued for defamation. And at least at the preliminary stage, the court said that Google can't get off the hook just by blaming the robot.
I'm worried about this precedent that's being set that you can get sued for being a dummy.
Well,
do we need to start putting a disclaimer on every episode that is just like Bug is not responsible for a goddamn thing that comes out of their mouth?
Don't worry, you have the perfect defense in that no one would believe you knew what you were talking about.
Thank you. That's
No
sort of
no reasonable listener could believe that you knew what you were talking about.
Great. So if you're listening, Dan Reynolds from Imagine Dragons, who Charles, the context here is we've been trying to get him to sue us for libel for like 3 or 4 episodes. So if you have anything terrible you'd like to say about the front man of Imagine Dragons, now would be the time.
All I know is that he saved my life. And
fascinating.
Yeah, he saved my life, and I would do anything for that man. This is how I immunize myself from my association with whatever you've got going on.
It's a good move, honestly.
Flies.
All I know is that he is given to many, many charities.
So I feel like I'm learning a whole lot about corporate accountability. You can sue them. You can sue them when somebody at the top is dumb. Well, I guess when an AI model is dumb and plays 2 things. I cannot sue them just because like my SpaghettiOs taste like shit. Unless
it's like, poison.
I feel like in that situation it would be hard to sue them. But I'm prepared to sort of come back as a ghost and sue the fucking whatever company that is. I think that would make for good movie material, if nothing else.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how cases against AI develop, because there are going to be different things. They tend to be winning most, in the United States, certainly, most of the copyright scraping kinds of things. They are less likely to win if they just start regurgitating huge blocks of literal text, but absorbing the material into just like the corpus of what they use as their, electronic brain to do large language model kind of mapping, or to, machine learning data stuff. Look, courts are not terribly sympathetic to authors in those cases. And I'm not exactly sure how you get around that.
You actually brought up a good point just now that I thought about. Was you mentioned like how they've had more success over here in the US. Like when it comes to consumer liability stuff, or like the stuff you do, like, do you tend to find that European courts are side more with the consumer or the general public, and like it's more corporate here, or is it pretty bad on both sides?
I don't really know what the European courts are like. And the regulation depends, like the relative regulation is highly erratic in both directions. There, like, people talk all the time about like how the good sunscreen is in Europe and it's not legal here. And that's probably because of something that our FDA found, was some kind of vulnerability. But a lot of things are much more heavily regulated in Europe. And it's especially true, when Republican administrations kind of defang the FDA and take away money and, say that everything is a regulatory roadblock. The EU is considered in a lot of ways a more heavy-handed regulator, especially when we have Republicans in power. They're a much more aggressive antitrust regulator because the United States tends to prefer bigger as better. We have a really kind of fucked up understanding of what antitrust is for. And, decades going back to Reagan and Bork of an understanding that, consumer welfare is the only thing that matters. And so distorting labor markets or distorting business markets don't matter so much as long as prices come down, and so, looking at the effects in a really broad way is something that Lina Khan tried to do during her brief time at, running antitrust policy at the Federal Trade Commission under Biden. But that is not a thing that you're going to see really any of. Certainly while, Trump is in power, but it was nothing that any other Republican really liked much either.
Yeah, I was going to say a little bit earlier, it is kind of nice to hear that there is any opportunity at all for any kind of corporate accountability right now, because it sure seems like those opportunities are few and far between.
Yeah.
You do not hear a lot of stories these days about corporations facing consequences.
I mean, look at Standard Oil broke up 100 years ago under the Sherman Act, right? And then they've slowly, all the Standard Oil, the smaller oil companies have slowly merged back up to where it's it kind of feels we didn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, it was it was a long time where, breaking up trusts and big conglomerates like that was a real big deal. I mean, I was a kid when they broke up Bell, at AT&T into all the baby Bell companies, because it was huge and dominating markets nationwide in really bad ways and splitting it into regional operators to make telecom more competitive and more affordable. And it's very different now. All of the cellular operators are things that probably would not have been able to get off the ground in a telecom monopoly like they had in the 70s. So it's a lot of that kind of progress gets wound back when all you care about is the ultimate price that things go for. And then you see something like Uber, where their model was to lose money forever until they killed all the taxi cabs, and then use that market power to start squeezing drivers and customers. And now it's expensive as hell. All of the really cheap, in the same way, Ed Zitron talks a lot about this, about how AI is hugely subsidized. And that any time any company has to start paying for their own AI tokens, it's suddenly wholly unaffordable, because without the companies subsidizing it to get people addicted to the juice, then it is just way too expensive to be practical for the constant use it's subjected to.
I saw something going around a little bit ago that as soon as those some company or other, as soon as those subsidies went away, they went from having to pay $500 for AI to 10,000 something. I don't know the specifics of it, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about that market, but yeah, I mean, it's funny. Everything operates on the first one is free model now. When I was in law school, they give students free access to Lexis and Westlaw, because Lexis and Westlaw, once you graduate and you're working for someone else, they want you familiar with their tools, so you're the one that you use when you or your boss is paying for it. And, young lawyers who don't know fuck all about anything can spend an insane amount. I think the pricing models are probably different now than they were in the late 90s when I graduated. But back then, you could end up running up huge bills just for doing searches, because you didn't really know how to do research anyway.
Everything functions like cocaine now. If dear listener to Bimbo Mentality, this is you can sort of take this to the bank, that Bug told you that if you want to get started on that grind set, best place to start is to start selling cocaine.
Yep.
Bimbo Mentality, the podcast, officially endorses.
I was gonna say, are we officially a pro cocaine podcast? Is that what we're stance we're taking here?
That's the position I'm taking. Based on her face right now, I do not know that Rue is entirely on board with this, but I will let her speak for herself.
Cocaine sells itself, you know.
Exactly.
That's true. I don't think we need to sell cocaine. Is I think what my stance is gonna be. But who knows? Who knows? Sure. Let's go for it. Let's embrace being the Coke podcast. Us and Red Scare, I'm pretty sure.
I don't even.
Here's a legal question for you. Does that qualify as libel?
I am not sure that they would fight the charge.
What's Dasha doing anyway right now?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good question.
This is one of those moments where I reveal that I'm less online than everybody else, because I've heard the term, but I don't really know what the Red Scare podcast is.
That's fair. You shouldn't.
So,
you're better off.
I'm glad to know now that it's mostly about cocaine.
So, important question: does Hunter Biden have a podcast? Because that is a pro cocaine podcast.
Oh my god!
If I ever saw
Hunter
one.
Biden, I want to make this very clear on the record right now. Hunter Biden, if you're listening, you have an open invite to get on this podcast.
Yes.
I don't know that you even really need to have a solid subject to teach us about. We will give you a microphone for an hour and just kind of see what happens.
Hunter Biden, teach us about cocaine.
I hope there's something left after he does Adam Friedland's show.
Oh, is he really? That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I saw an exchange between the two of them on Twitter where because Hunter Biden has been trying his hand at being a poster, which is to say he just replies to the people who try to make fun of him, and he's no dummy. He's decent.
Yeah.
And
he's got the juice from what I've seen on his
and
on
so
his
and so
posts.
Adam Friedland asked him to come on. He's like, I don't know if you know who I am, and he's like, of course I know who you are. And he said he would do it, and so then now I guess their representatives are talking to each other or whatever. So we'll see.
I will say Hunter Biden does clearly have the juice. He will grow out of that phase of just needing to reply to everybody who messes with him. And when he does, I think that he will grow a lot as a poster.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see him as a huge original content guy. I see him as someone who doesn't mind sparring, but that's because he's sober now. And so, you got to develop your addictions to fill the hole.
Yeah, he's kind of like I don't know. Does the fashion guy, he spars, but he also has original posts, I guess, too, right?
He has original posts. He's a fashion guy.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. He is a very good sparrer, too. Sparer?
Yeah.
Sparer?
I think I was very surprised. I was very surprised that he'll get in the shit, He'll research you and pull up your fucking your prison record. He doesn't fuck around if you get him crossways.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I need to do more sparring on the internet. Maybe that's what's been missing from my life since I quit drinking, is that I don't sort of rip people to shreds on the computer.
I feel much better for not doing that as much anymore. I used to, and I wasn't necessarily particularly good at it. I didn't love that part of it. I just prefer telling jokes. And once I stopped being hypersensitive to that kind of thing and feeling like I had to rely on yelling at other people all the time, that was peace.
I subscribe to that too. You seem like you've seen some shit in the forum days, even before the
I wasn't a super forum guy. I was a little, but hockey forums and stuff like that. And it was really just one school that I would troll a lot. And then once I met people on Twitter who were like something awful vets, I felt like a hayseed moving to the big city. You know, I'm like, oh, these are people who know how to like really fucking get down with with real meanness.
I thankfully avoided the Something Awful forums.
You want to hear some fucking some ruiner lore? I cut my teeth as a poster online getting in political arguments on DeviantArt.com. If any of you know
wait, how did you even get in political arguments on DeviantArt?
I looked at DeviantArt, but I was not looking at politics content on there. I will tell you that much.
A conservative political cartoonist who would post these like awful, like they were basically like this guy was like doing like what if the far side loved George W. Bush? And I would just go on there and rip this guy to shreds because I was 14 years old and pissed off.
Okay, but why was he on? What was the topic of his DeviantArt account? Like, why? Because political cartoons doesn't seem like what I. If I were someone who went to DeviantArt and knew what it was, I don't really see political parts on there, from what I've heard.
You can post political cartoons on DeviantArt. No one will actually stop you. That was what he was doing on DeviantArt, was trying to spread around his political.
There was no like inflation involved or anything else.
No.
One might argue that he was the biggest deviant there.
Yeah,
I mean, I would agree unironically. I mean, that's so much worse than
pervert shit.
That's so much worse than weird. Like, I mean, first of all, you know, Bimbo Mentality is a pro-inflation porn and furry porn podcast.
Absolutely,
I think we can all agree on that. But like, you know, we've all encountered the like right-wing furries, and we don't really understand them, but at least they seem to know that their thing. It's so much worse to be posting right-wing content on a pervert forum and not even having a weird paraphernalia with
exactly. I'm like, what's the draw?
Like,
what's the draw? You gotta get me in there.
That's the kind of person who I would like tell my kids we don't talk to them.
Yeah.
Okay,
I want to get Sonic pregnant with my horrible ideas.
I have horrible news. The guy who in like 2006, who I used to troll on DeviantArt for posting conservative versions of Far Side cartoons, I just pulled up his DeviantArt account, and the latest post was 6 hours ago. This man is still...
No, why is he still doing this?
And it was posted from his diplomatic position in Suriname.
What is he... Okay, wait, scroll through, though. Is there anything even remotely DeviantArt-esque about the posts?
I actually just posted his latest post in the group chat. In our Discord server. I'm sorry to have done this.
Oh my god. Why have you done this to me?
Some gutter tier transphobia. It's a bunch of sharks gathered around a TV, and the TV says, "Next up, cross-dressing sharks read sexy stories to pups."
Which I just want to be clear, would make much better DeviantArt material.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah, they were all very upset at watching DeviantArt.
They don't even wear clothes. Even in the comic, they're not wearing clothes. What does this even mean? Even in universe, his logic doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Oh my god!
You're right, though, Charles. That guy. You're right, though, Charles. That guy definitely has a formal position in the State Department now.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is horrendous.
I really do. I kind of respect the fact that this weirdo has 4 distinct personalities in his sharks.
Yeah.
You know? Like, there's one horrified woman in a fright wig and glasses, and her hilarious punchline is, "Dang, Shark Week has really jumped the shark." And then
Riveting.
3 different fucking styles of grouch who are just hard. Like, and that is literally how I think that most conservatives watch all popular culture.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm. I would like
Just
to say
completely
that
disgusted and they can't turn away.
Oh,
You
yeah,
put it on that.
Did you look at the Super Bowl, all the stuff that the FCC got for the Super Bowl halftime from Bad Bunny? Like all the write-in comments were just insane. Oh my God, it was Sorry, Bug, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it does make me feel a little bit better just in, that I am looking at a DeviantArt piece of artwork that I can imagine the shark behind the TV is masturbating. Like, that's a face that could say is touching himself inappropriately right now.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So we've talked about this. We've talked about this enough, by the way, Rue, that we are definitely going to have to put a link to this in the description of the podcast.
I can't. I can't.
And also, open invite. Come on the podcast. Let's hang out.
Oh
Let's
my
hash
God.
out our differences.
We can't. Bug, I need you to remember, I was arguing with this guy 20 years ago on the internet.
We'll have the opportunity to mend some fences.
I would bet he still remembers you.
I would
Your
bet he
posts.
does.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. He's sitting there thinking, I hate that guy. And you're like, well, I have some news.
I have some news. She's a little different now. But kind of no less ready to yell at you. So get ready.
maybe even more. Maybe
And
even
now
if I scroll your work, I'm going to find something a little more personal.
And now owns a Warhammer.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
All right. So having gotten off on a tangent about DeviantArt,
I forgot where we were before that now.
yeah, we were talking about like antitrust law. I'm way backtracking with this comment, but wow, not enforcing antitrust legislation and not doing anything to protect labor, that seems, I'm no expert, but that seems like as good an explanation as any as to why everything sucks now.
Yeah, it's a lot of it.
There's no quality control anymore.
It's a lot of it. It's not even law. Like, I mean, it manifests in law in a lot of ways, but one of the worst things that happened in politics was rich people with, nominally surface level anti-discriminatory leanings, broker with a gay friend, started giving money to the Democrats, and the Democrats became a very Wall Streety kind of party right after, the civil rights victories of the 60s. And that's kind of where, that generation kind of was about as good as politics got for a while, and then slowly started crawling back by making the Democratic Party increasingly beholden to money. And money and money and money. And the, unions getting weaker is part of that formula, So, I don't know. And it, like, the ways that it, the NLRA with National Labor Relations Act really strengthened unions. And then there was a lot of pushback to that. Early on, they would treat the unions themselves like violations of the Sherman Act. Workers getting together were treated like they were forming some kind of, anti-competitive conduct, and Congress had to sort of spank the courts and stop them from doing that by being more specific in their laws. But over the years, the courts have just been increasingly sympathetic to ways that employers fuck unions up and undermine them and scare workers and stuff like that. And now we just have a government that actively hates the National Labor Relations Board. And when they don't completely keep it from having a quorum, so it can't do anything ever, they they stock it with people who are mostly worried about, picket signs and, occasional picket line violence instead of the constant and active suppression of discussion among workers of salaries and other things that, you would do to build labor power and solidarity.
Brief tangent on that. Democrats spanking federal judges also would make better DeviantArt material than what that guy was posting. No, it is crazy though. I mean, it's great. Like even now, it's impossible to. I've never had a job where I didn't have to sign a mandatory arbitration form and all that shit. Like, it's just impossible to ever hold bosses accountable for anything.
Yeah, and I like, and mandatory arbitration to me, and the absolutely exalted way that the Supreme Court has made those agreements super powerful under under contract law principles, to me, is just courts joining us in the struggle to not work. Right? They're just
Exactly.
like, keep this out of my courtroom. I don't want to deal with it. You can do as much as you want outside of court in these, semi-fake fora where every individual is going to deal with it once, and every arbitrator is a repeat player, and every employer is a repeat player. So you end up getting this kind of tendency where the arbitrators favor the people who will be back, because people often have to agree on who the arbitrator is going to be. And so you'd rather be someone who is considered agreeable, as opposed to a judge who just gets cases assigned to him or her.
If anyone out there is looking for an arbitrator, sign me up. I'm down.
I liked playing as him in Halo 2, actually.
Yeah, no, but
thank you so much for that one. That was for me. Thank you.
I'm glad I could help.
Rue's face light up. No, but I agree. I mean, it is like, you do get to a point where if there's no internal mechanism for like holding your boss accountable for terrible labor practices, what the hell else do you do but just quit your job and stop working for a bit or start trying to get by on like DIY art and stuff like that, or just even
and then
just the
you
basic
start doing it and everyone makes fun of your sharks.
right? Or even just like the basic sort of job hopping practices that mean that nobody is carrying institutional memory, and then you have another reason why everything sucks now.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, it is. I mean, there was something to be said, I guess, at some level for having arbitration for a lot of, wage disputes or, things like that. But once they cram like Title VII sexual discrimination, or Title VII is racial, and Title IX sexual discrimination claims into arbitration, it's like, okay, what are we fucking doing here? You're actually keeping people out of court that we had to pass specific federal laws for. That is definitely the worst part of that evolution to me. Is, shunting all of that out, and, the courts playing a lot of games with standing, like who can sue and when they can sue. And it always seems like the richer you are, the easier it is to sue. And while obviously being rich is a cheat code in a lot of ways, it's really insidious how it can affect the things that are supposed to be neutral.
Yeah, that, I mean, superficially, just as someone who does not engage with the legal system that much, it sure seems from the outside like it's just a lot of Calvin Ball right now. It's a lot of, you know, you see a lot of headlines about judges all the way up to the Supreme Court making clearly, making decisions that they clearly decided on in advance and then came up with a rationale for.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that, and it's not even necessarily that they're coming up with rationales on the spot. A lot of it just sort of bubbles in conservative academia for a long time. So it's kind of like watching a freighter that's about to, wreck the docks as it approaches the shore. Like, what they're planning to do with all of this, and then the way they write it, the way the court writes a lot of these decisions now is very insulting to the intelligence of anyone who paid attention to a lot of this, And so every time they get one case, which they don't completely fuck up, all of a sudden everyone is patting them on the back about some new judiciousness and, has Trump finally gone too far? And it's all, kayfabe. They may sometimes, every once in a while, they'll rule on one of the easy ones in a way that's not completely offensive to anyone's sensibilities. And then you get, a case like Calais, which was the redistricting case, where they just upended, over the last however many years, everything that made the Voting Rights Act work, starting with the premise that it was racist or it was discriminatory to pay attention to the racism in the historically racist spaces in the South, when there are many cases where the North is just as racist. And it's like, it is a principle that's so devoid of any real logic. Scalia attacked one aspect of the Voting Rights Act that was renewed 99-0, and he found that the unanimity implied like a kind of social cowardice. Like, the senators only voted for it because they could lose an election if they didn't. And I was struggling to see what the constitutional principle at work was there, or why it would matter in such a way that it would give the court more power. I mean, that's bullshit. And there's a lot of bullshit for a very long time. And it is like, now we have hit the point where they really have no check on them anymore. And
I was going to say, I feel like I've never been more disillusioned with SCOTUS than at this modern point, honestly.
Yeah. And, and there are things that they've never been particularly good on, but there were always like little glimmers, and now it's like there's really nothing. And the idea of court reform, which was laughable, like just in Trump's first term, right? They were like, oh, a Biden administration, we can flip this around. And now people are like, oh, I get it. Like, these people literally are going to change whatever they can, without paying any attention to how psychotic and out of control all of these decisions are, being done entirely by executive order, because Congress is intentionally letting the executive do whatever they want, because that way they don't get their hands dirty on any of it. All they have to say is, yeah, I haven't read his statement.
Putting you on the spot right now. All right. Packing the courts. Yay or nay?
Yay. Very much for. And it really is a last gasp, right? I mean, the fact is, they have lifetime tenure. Alito and Thomas are not getting less crazy as they get old. They are aging into full-on crank status. Their news sources are either they're willfully being like either they are entirely malicious liars or have such a diet of garbage that they believe every fucking meme they read. And that doesn't help. And Barrett and Kavanaugh and Gorsuch are all pretty young. Roberts isn't that young anymore, but, they've got a 6-3 majority that's going to last for a really long time. And so the only solution is to pack the courts. And I don't even know how you do it in a world where, you need these super majorities in the Senate. And so I think, along with court reform, the Senate, a Democratic Senate filled with all these institutionalist, necrotic weenies is going to have to really be willing to push back on that, too.
Samuel Alito definitely reads that guy's DeviantArt.
Actually, I was going to say, my proposed, kind of going back to the DeviantArt thing, my proposed solution to all of this is that I want to consensually eat Samuel Alito. Just, I eat the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Clarence Thomas too, if he's into it, then we're good.
Okay, wait.
Okay, but not until after the next presidential election.
Yeah. Oh wait. But I'm gonna eat those guys
Mm-hmm.
consensually.
Is this a cannibal thing or a vor thing or what? No.
I don't want to do this. It's me taking a bullet for my country, but I mean, it still eats. It's fine.
Well, I think that's the note on which we're going to move on to our What We Learned segment. Emma, what'd you learn today?
I learned that the K in 401k is silent, actually. So that's what I learned.
Okay.
I love you, Emma.
That's a good one. I learned a lot about what happens on DeviantArt. I learned that I cannot sue if my SpaghettiOs suck, but I can sue if they kill me. And I learned a lot about why labor practices suck now. And I learned that when all else fails, you can always quit your job and be unemployed. And I think that's Bimbo Mentality, baby.
And do cocaine.
And do cocaine.
There we go.
Charles
eat a Supreme
having
Court justice.
And eat a Supreme Court justice.
Charles, having heard
God.
our takeaways, do you feel like you successfully thought like a bimbo and taught us about your expertise?
I definitely do. I definitely feel like I have been bimbofied in a way that Nancy Mace's husband would be jealous of.
Somehow that's never come up on the show yet.
Oh my God.
I posted about it, but it hasn't come up.
Oh.
All right. That's going to do it for us this
That's
week.
a great ending line.
Yeah. Charles, do you have anything to plug before we wrap up?
I do. You could find me at YouGarls. It's probably easier to, instead of trying to spell that, just look for Senator Lemon Gogurt. And the No Homework podcast with Patrick Cosmos and El Ron Mexico, nominally about shitty jobs and hardly working, but it's about whatever we feel like talking about.
I did check out the No Homework podcast in the lead up to this episode, and it's a real good time. So, listener, check that out if you haven't.
Thank you so much.
Cool. That's gonna do it for us on Bimbo Mentality. Astute listeners will once again notice that this was not the previously mentioned episode on competitive shooting. That will happen at some point, I promise. If you, speaking of shooting, if you want to hang out and shoot the shit with us and with some of the other former guests for this podcast, you can join us on the Bimbo Mentality forum at bimbomentality.freeforums.net. Our intro outro music is 10 cents per minute by Tonsil Hockey. If you are interested in seeing if you can think like a bimbo, You can send us your pitch on Instagram, Blue Sky, or at prettybug@proton.me. And we'll catch you later. Quit your jobs and do cocaine.
I just want to reach out.